Greetings with lovers everywhere, and welcome back to E-Train Talks. I'm E-Train, and one of my main goals of my podcast is to promote diversity in middle grade books. And with June being Pride Month, I thought it'd be perfect to talk with one of my all-time favorite authors. I said that about a lot of people, but Michael Leali is seriously, his books are chef's kiss amazing. His profound and meaningful stories are full of quick wit, heart, and some history too. He finds ways to weave the most entertaining and also thought-provoking storylines into his already well-crafted, heartfelt stories. Just when you think he's done, well, Michael has so much about him that is perfect cause for some pretty interesting questions too. So stick around for that. Anyway, let's talk a bit about Michael. So Michael has done it all, from singing in choir to teaching high school, which is a feat in itself, and writing for middle graders, and in my opinion, we're pretty awesome. No bias there. He is amazing. And let's just start off with his books. We have The Civil War of Amos Abernathy, his debut. It was probably one of my favorite books of 2022, and that is not an exaggeration. And you will all love Amos's story. You gotta check it out. And we also have Mateo, which at the time of recording, it'll be out in 2 days on May 23rd, a Tuesday, like most middle grade books are released. And you have to find it in your local bookstores or wherever you find your books because it is a fun one. I was lucky enough to receive an ARC, and now let's get into the questions because I'm sure that's what you're all here for. So thank you for joining me today, Michael.
Thank you so much for having me here, E-Train.
Well, it is an honor because your books really, they kind of set a fire in me to search for more books like yours. And that's kind of really what got me super duper excited about the middle grade diversity scene, in a sense. And so I've had the honor and enjoyment of reading both of your middle grade novels. The Civil War of Amos Abernathy, it's a bit of a mouthful, but
It is a little bit.
and Mateo, that's a bit easier to say.
A little bit.
Yeah. What I love about your writing is how well you touch on, I guess, real feelings and challenges that many middle schoolers face, because we're a handful, and with that comes a lot of emotions bottled up inside. So you write about meaningful LGBTQ plus topics in a way that provides windows for some of us who don't necessarily haven't gone through some of the same experiences as your characters, but they're also mirrors for the kids who really need a story, an outlet like the Civil War of Amos Abernathy and Mateo. So anyway, to the question part of this question, when did you first realize you needed to share stories like Amos's and Mateo's through middle grade?
Such a good question. And so much of it goes back to what I wish I had as a young person. Books like these really didn't exist when I was 11, 12, 13. And for a really long time, I struggled with my sexual orientation. I didn't come out until I was in college. I was 20, 21 years old when I really started to grapple with what it meant for me to like guys. And that was a really painful experience. And I thought, as an adult, as a person who wanted to write books for young people, what could I give to today's young people that would help them in a way that something like this could have helped me? And so as I was figuring out the stories I wanted to tell, I wanted to think about what I could bring as me, Michael Leali, to this space. And I thought about my own experiences and my own thoughts and feelings about being a gay man and about what it's like to grow up with all of these different feelings that are not quite what sometimes straight people feel or think. And for me, I work with so many young people. I've worked as an educator for 7 years. I've also done a lot of work with theater, and I've worked with kids like pre-K all the way through college age. And I've seen and I've witnessed a lot of the joys, but also the struggles of what it means to be a part of the queer community. And so my heart is really in this to tell honest stories, but also stories of hope and joy.
a topic I've never discussed on my podcast or YouTube channel before is you're a historical reenactor, just like Amos Abernathy. That's pretty interesting. So, will you share what historical reenacting really is and some things that you did when you were a kid?
Absolutely. Yeah, historical reenactment is a little bit like being a living history book. And it's very theatrical. So what I did, there's a place nearby where I live where I would volunteer, and this would be from about March until October. And I did this from fourth until about seventh grade. And then we moved a little bit further away, and it was harder for my parents to get me there. But what I would do is I would dress up like I was a young boy from the 1800s. I would wear overalls, a flannel shirt. I wore a haversack, which is the bag that Amos wears on the cover. And in that, I would have my chalk and slate, my tin cup. I would keep a book with me, but I'd have to cover it in brown paper. And I would go from station to station around this site, and I would reenact, I would pretend to be of this era. And so I would go to places like a log cabin, and I would grind corn into cornmeal. I would go to the one-room schoolhouse with other volunteer children, and we would pretend to learn a spelling lesson, or we would do a geography lesson. We would play games out on the front porch of different buildings. We would walk on stilts. We would do one of my favorite things, which was to play Skittles, which is a little bit like bowling and combined with tops. It's like spinning tops. So it was lots of fun, and it was a way to socialize. It was also a way to really embrace and learn about the history that I really loved so much, especially at that point in my life.
Well, now I want to be a historical reenactor. I mean, I knew it existed, but I didn't know